PLUTO Tissa here, and today I'm going to talk about, well, Martin Luther King, or what he did and why the Wanted Rikes made a day to honor him. Now, many folks who live in other lands may know or may not know about Martin Luther King and what he did. Well, this was Martin Luther King helped to bring folks together during a time when a lot of folks were not together. He helped folks to make laws that would make it fair for everyone. Well, the black folks had it bad for a long time. They were seen, at first they were fools, then they got their freedom and became borrowers of the Wanted Rikes, but for a long time they didn't have the same rights or the same freedoms, even though they had been freed since the eight between hundred. Why else? And what Martin Luther King did is that he did uprisings, but he did restful uprisings. You know, he did have talks with folks. He did get folks to see that black folks needed to have the same fair rights as everyone else. But he didn't just do it for black folks. He did it for anyone out there who didn't have the same rights everybody else had. And a lot of folks a lot of folks believe that a lot of folks think that if he didn't take a stand to help folks and get fair rights for everyone, that they probably would not be. Well, that's hard to say. No one truly knows. But that was something that he felt deeply in, you know. And there was the first march at Washington where he gave his dream speech, where he had a dream that the Wanted Rikes would one day live up to its oath that all men and women were crafted fairly and they should all have the same rights under the law. And sadly, he was slain by a evildoer. But the holiday, which onlooked him in his life and his work, did not happen until years later. Now, it is true that some folks believe that even though he was born in January, some folks say that Black Yesteryear month is in February. So some folks believe that the day to unlock him and his work should be in February. But since he was born in January, January would be the month that day would be made for. What some folks should also take away from it is that it was a step. What some folks should take away is that it was a step in the right way. It did take a long time for everyone to get the fair rights, but it was step after step after step, and it's still an ongoing thing. But it's more greater now for folks than it was back then. And a lot of folks believe that it was only the black folks that were having it bad. Well, actually, anyone from any kind of folk had it bad. There were either folks who went out and did wrong, so it made them look bad, or they were brought over as fools, which after they got their freedom, a lot of folks didn't want to give them the same rights. There were folks who had land, and that land was sadly taken from them, but years later, some of it was given back to them with, look, we made a mistake. But everyone was guilty of doing some kind of wrongdoing. And I know some folks are going to say, oh, well, it's the white folks. They're the ones that wronged everyone. Well, every kind of folk is guilty of doing some kind of wrongdoing. But that's not the grounds of it. The grounds was that Martin Luther King, he worked hard to to get it to where a day where everyone, the blacks, anyone, would have their fair right, which they did. It's still ongoing. Now, I know there's going to be some folks out there that might say, oh, well, there's still kind hating out there. Yeah, sadly there is, and kind hating will never go away. You know, there are still folks out there who hate folks from other kinds of walks, other kinds of life. There are folks who hate folk from the way they look or the way they behave or whatever, or their worship. Yeah, there is still kind hating. That will never go away. That hatred that Lucifer put in their heart, only God and Jesus can take away if they let them do it. But it's a lot more good now than it was back then. A lot of folks have the same rights as everyone else does and are seen the same and fair under the law, which a long time ago that wasn't true. So and this is the first time I've ever talked about it. So, and I might get a lot of things wrong and say a lot of things, get a lot of things right and some things wrong. So someone's going to probably end up coming at, well, not scathing me, but they are going to come and say, well, you got this little thing wrong. Yes, Hitler, Martin Luther King namesake, was a holy man. Yes, he was doing God's work when he wanted to give fair rights for everyone. And yes, he did die as a good doer. And I'm sure that that was and at the end of the day I'm sure he'd be happy with a lot of the work that has still gone on, but I'm sure he would also say there's still a lot more work that one could do in that way. But it's more good now than it was back then. So at the end of the day, that's my take, or a lot of folks' take on Martin Luther King Day and the ONED RIKES. Other lands also do look at too. Some in a land, like here in the ONED RIKES, it's more of a land holiday, where in other lands it's more of a Reich holiday. But in the ONED RIKES, it's more of a land and Reich holiday. So that's just my thoughts, on Martin Luther King Day and the ONED RIKES. And now, yeah, so it is what it is. Alright, if you like that film, then watch the film we made yesterday with Sailor Mini Moon talking about, did we knock off the Power Rangers or Strength Keepers or follow us here at Sailor Moon for Life? I'm Sailor Pluto Tessa, and I hope you like this film.